Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I'm a clinical psychologist, neuropsychologist, and the father of a couple of ADHD. They were kids, now they're adults. And I have also been in private practice for a long time and worked with a lot of ADHD, doing evaluations, treatment, coaching, all kinds of stuff. Okay, and my audio engineer has just informed me that we're actually getting through. Okay, I have done a couple of shows or podcasts recently that are, could be seen as kind of depressing. It's not certainly my point or the thing I was trying to achieve. I just, ADHD is a tricky thing, and you need to have a realistic knowledge of the neurology, the neurophysiology, the behavioral aspects of it, and how that affects everything. So, but I want to tell you that there are some really good things about an ADHD kid that parents of boring old neurotypical kids never get to experience. Okay, but you have to understand that your ADHD child has a perfectly acceptable brain for a lot of situations. For most places that people live and that sort of stuff, it'd be okay to have ADHD. It wouldn't be that big a deal. But we are in a situation now where it's you're in a society that's not really designed for ADHD kids. That's the blunt truth about it. ADHDers think fast, catch on quick, move fast, don't like to sit still, don't like being bored, don't like to do anything that's not interesting or fun. And they, for God's sakes, don't want to have to sit still for 6 hours a day listening to somebody else talk. That's kind of not really their thing. But our school system, especially, and I probably ought to paraphrase that first. My mother was a teacher. I love teachers. I think they are the unsung heroes of our society. And if we don't start getting off the snide and start paying them like the professionals that they are, we're going to have computers do all the teaching. And I don't think that's going to be a good thing for the whole society. But the education system is basically not that different from the way it was in the 1800s. Basically, the idea is that there are certain things you need to learn to be able to work in our society. You need to be able to read the instructions, at least, and understand them and put them into effect. And then you have to also be able to do basic kinds of arithmetic and that sort of thing. So, but what we get, honestly, is we get a lot of people coming out of school who know how to memorize the heck out of stuff, but don't really know how to apply that. They don't really know how to apply what they've learned or what they've memorized. It's a slight difference. What they've memorized, I'm not really sure how to apply it in given situations. Okay, your ADHD child is a learn on the run kind of kid. Your ADHD child loves stuff that's interesting. One of the characteristics, and I think it's a positive one, of ADHD kids is that they're hyper curious. They know all kinds of stuff about all sorts of different things, and you're kind of wondering, where the heck did he learn that? We didn't, they never took a course in that, and of course I'm a psychologist, and they, I have a coach who says, the thing about psychologists is they want to have a course for everything they do. It's like, yeah, I think you're right. But that isn't the way ADHD works. ADHDers work. Okay. So, and one of the big things you need to do is be able to get your kid through the education system with a positive self-image. Okay. And that's ADHD is not specific. Not everybody's got exactly the same presentation. People have different ways of presenting with ADHD, and your ADHD child may be one of those, and they're lucky that the things that they really like to do involve a lot of reading and imagining and all that stuff. And school will probably be okay for them, except for the imagining part, probably. But one of the things you got to do is convince that your child is, first of all, that a lot of people have ADHD. Okay, a ton of people have ADHD. And as we are getting more and more familiar with ADHD, and more people are recognizing it, and more people are being diagnosed, which doesn't mean we're overdiagnosing. It means we are learning more about how to recognize this stuff before it messes with your mind, if you will. Okay, so your kiddo is not the only one, and they need to understand also that they're not. Well, the famous book is, You Mean I'm Not Lazy, Crazy, or Stupid, which kind of covers all the things that ADHD kids kind of think of themselves as being. It's a distinction, but it's an important distinction. It's a little bit. Your brain is a little different, but it is not a disability as such. It's not like you can't visualize a mathematical equation or something like that. It's that your brain is a little different. It moves a little faster. It quits a little sooner, but it is not retarded. It is not crazy. It is a perfectly good brain that if you use it in the right way, you can have a pretty successful life. There's no doubt about that. Okay, it's just different. Okay, it's like anything else. Like if you wanted to be a basketball player, but if you're a freshman in high school, that you're 5'2", you're probably not going to get the coach looking at you a whole lot. So you better work your fanny off and get good at doing some of the things that short people can do on a basketball court. Anything else, right-handed or left-handed. Okay, if you're left-handed, life is a little more complicated. I have one of those too, children, I mean, and I never thought about things like which side should the ring be on the binder, and all those kinds of things, because your hand is always on the top of the ring, and it's uncomfortable. You should switch one around to the opposite side and see how uncomfortable that is fast. So, so they have to learn to accommodate, to adapt. I think there's some SEAL thing that says adapt and conquer or something. Well, I wouldn't say silly, but you got to adapt and adjust. That's what being a person is all about. You adapt and adjust to the situations you're in. If your kids are military brats, well, hey, they have to adjust. They adapt like crazy because they're moving every 3 years, to someplace different. And they adapt, or they get really unhappy. Let's put it that way. Okay, so yeah, the other thing you have to teach your kid is, okay, your brain is different, but it's not damaged. Okay, your brain is okay. There are a lot of other kids who have the same thing, and you still have to do the work. If you want to do well in school, you have to do the work. You have to do what it takes, not as long as not just as long as some of the other kids do. You have to do as long as it takes you personally. And if it's a little longer, fine, not a problem. Just do it. You have to be persistent. And the other thing you have to do and teach your kid is that it's going to take as long as it takes. ADHDers don't have a good sense of time passage or time management. So, they're looking at homework and they don't have any idea how long it's going to take. It just seems like a whole lot. So they'll be unhappy about it. So you have to teach them, to measure things out and to break complicated tasks into little pieces that you can do in 15, 20 minutes, and then do it again for another 15 or 20 minutes, and so on. That's called the Pomodoro effect, and by all means, use that. Get them a timer, get it to what a time that they can stand to work, and then maybe start out being 15, 20 minutes, and eventually, hopefully, it's closer to an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And then you take a break, and then you come back and you do it again. Okay. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but it's important. Your child needs to understand that he can do it as well as anybody else. It just may take him a little longer for some things, but it doesn't mean he can't do it. And the good part about this was when they have to struggle with something, they learn to be resilient. And resilience is like the magic. Resilient people don't quit. Resilient people keep going till they get the job done. You need to help your child become resilient. And one of the ways you do that is you don't criticize, no, why did it? Why'd you do that? And that kind of stuff. No. It's like, okay, this didn't work out very well, did it? There's a problem, right? So what do we take away from this? What do we learn from this? What can we do better next time? You need to be thinking like that. You need to teach your child to think that way. So, I screwed up again. Oh, I messed up. Oh, no, okay, you made a mistake, but now we're through it. And so how do we figure out what happened and what we can do better next time? So that is one of the most important things you teach your child. I mean, it doesn't matter if your child has ADHD or not. Resilience is way more important. I mean, the kids who have the most trouble in college are the ones who floated right through their public school system all the way through high school and never had a problem, never had to really buckle down, just kind of flew through. And then they hit college, and all of a sudden they got to work at it. And some of them have never had to work at a thing academically in their entire lives until then. And a lot of them don't make it through their freshman year. They just, oh my God, I got to work? No, this is supposed to be easy for me. I'm smart. I've been told I'm smart for my whole life. That's a mistake, by the way, as a parent. Instead, praise them for the amount of effort they put into the task. Hey, you did a great job, man. You studied like crazy for this. That's good. The death knell to effort is, you're so smart. You could do anything. You're so smart. If they take the notion of effort, or if you take the notion of effort out of the equation, bad things happen. Okay. You're going to get somebody who expects to do well, and that's not really the same thing as preparing to do well. Okay. And one of the other things is, and I have observed this in my own kids, and I just recently saw Penn and Kim Holderness on an Attitude magazine presentation. If you're not familiar with them, he has ADHD, and he writes jingles and stuff for advertising firms, or he used to. I think now they're totally independent on their own. And she said, I'm an obsessive compulsive, and he used to drive me crazy. So anyway, so it's an interesting thing. But the talking about the positives of ADHD, and they were talking about it with their kids, and I thought, yeah, I know a lot of positives about my own kids, and they're pretty much the way they talked about. But ADHDers tend to be creative. They tend to be problem solvers. That combination is beautiful. Okay, I can remember the first time I noticed it. He was doing it for a while before then, but I was a busy psychologist, right? So you give him a couple of rubber bands, 3 or 4 paper clips, maybe a ballpoint pen or two, and look out. You don't know what you're going to get, but it's going to be interesting, and it's probably going to shoot something. So they're really creative at that, and they love problem solving. They love, they come up with really creative solutions. There used to be a program called, what is it? Odyssey of the Mind, I think it was called. And boy, my son just ate that up. He loved that stuff. Basically, you're solving something and you're supposed to be doing it in a group and that kind of thing. So anyway, so ADHDers are also great problem solvers. They tend to be more empathetic. They seem to read other people better than a lot of kids, and they are more concerned about everybody being happy, and around them. That they try to help people. And my favorite part of it is their sense of humor. My youngest especially has been making me laugh for his whole life. And there's, just a unique way of looking at things. I think that's why so many comedians confess to having ADHD, I think, on stage. But, it's stuff you don't think about. Like, I remember when my son was, like, I think 4 years old, he said, Daddy, I don't understand. Okay, if your fingernails are bigger than your toenails, why is a toenail clipper bigger than a fingernail clipper? I got to admit, I was a little bit taken aback. I'd never even thought of that. I don't know that I ever noticed that. But when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, he's right. Oh. And I probably came up with some kind of an explanation, but I'm not sure if I did or not. The other thing is, ADHDers tend to be loyal. They, once you're their friend, you're their buddy for life. I mean, the way my son usually introduces people is, this is my friend, and the way he talks about, my friend that is the chef. He, it's like, is everybody your friend? I guess so. So those are a lot of positive traits. And the hyper curious one kind of fits right in there. And that's only been recently talked about. And I'm blocking on the young lady's name. She's a neuroscience, well, she's got her own practice and stuff now. But anyway, first wrote an article about it, and we have known for a long time that they can hyperfocus. And hyperfocus is, if it's about something that you need for your job or your satisfaction, I suppose, hyperfocus is wonderful. You get into something, you just keep going until you get it done. And that's if it happens to be in an area that fits your job description or something, you've got one of these jobs that has a lot of projects, then you can feel really like, it's going to be good because you're going to slip into that hyper focus thing where you just kind of zone out and get everything done and da 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 over, even if it takes 12 straight hours. Um, and you're in a situation where that gets rewarded. Hey, that's a great thing. Or if if you work for yourself, that's the easiest and most ideal situation for an ADHD, or within certain limits, which I can talk about later on. But pay attention to these kinds of things with your children, especially your ADHD children. But it really wouldn't hurt for all of them. But because an ADHDer gets a lot of criticism. I've talked about that over and over again. They get a ton more criticism than a neurotypical child, because they're always pushing, they're always testing the limits, they're always, trying out something that nobody else thought about. And that's, as a parent, it's like, just stay safe. But they don't, they don't stay safe. They go great guns, and you're just kind of hoping they get through it all right. And good news is most of the time they do. So it's important for yourself to recognize the positive aspects of ADHD. And it's important that you reinforce this with your ADHD child, that oh man, where do you come up with this stuff? That's cool. That sort of stuff, that they get some rewards and some positive feedback. And you're important in their lives. And so you have to understand that what you say means a lot more, even when they get to be teenagers and you don't think you don't think they want you around sometimes. They still do. It's important to them that you think they're pretty neat people to have around. So that's my quick riff on, I think it's a quick one anyway, on the positives of ADHD. It's kind of a wild ride, but it's interesting. So you learn a lot about yourself, if nothing else, And if you happen to be the one with ADHD, doing some of this for your child is the same as doing it for yourself, and you might pick your own self-image up a little bit. And if you happen to be the parent who doesn't have ADHD, if there is one in your house, it's important for you to be reminding yourself, because I know it's sometimes hard to understand. How can they not? I mean, I know I've had lots of people in my office who, I don't understand why he can't see that. I don't understand, I feel like I'm the only adult in the house and I'm taking care of all these extra kids. Okay, but anyway, there are a lot of good things about ADHD, and you just have to, as a parent, you have to be more creative than the parents of all neurotypical kids, because you've got a little more work to do to make it come out right. Okay, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. This has been Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is a show designed to make the world safe, or at least safer, for ADHD. My website is terrygingrasphd.com. You can get over there and sign up for my newsletter, sign up for my, well, you're already listening to my podcast. You can also sign up for just a quick 30-minute or so discussion about your needs and what I might be able to do for you. Mostly it's about coaching. Usually, I've been a certified coach since 2015. And usually I've been working with ADHD, either families or executives, honestly, executives with ADHD, which is interesting. Okay. So if you might want to look at any of those, just go to my website. There's a lot of places there for you to sign up. It's a Calendly program. It's kind of a wild program, but it will let you schedule a time with me that fits your schedule, and without having to do a lot of phone calls and stuff. And then we'll just meet and, like I said, talk about what you have problems with, what you'd like to change. Da 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 da. Okay, catch you next time.